Okay. 3, 2, 1.
Boom, and welcome to the Big Honker Podcast, brought to you by Lucky Duck. I'm Jeff Stanfield with the world-famous Andy Shaver.
You're shouting.
Am I?
You're shouting.
Well, good.
You're yelling.
I want people to hear me, Andy.
They do hear you. It's called the microphone.
During traffic, I want them to hear me loud and clear.
Very clear, very loud, and it's Tuesday morning. You need to settle down. You had court, so that's why you're all wound up. You got to judge people.
Yeah, it was a very boring day.
No, Douglas, he's that judge. That's the judge he is.
Douglas, a big-time Chicago attorney, he's not coming to see me, or Kansas City attorney. He's not going to come to see me.
He's one of those. Jeff's a little peon judge. He gets his rocks off, just ruining the little guy's day.
No.
Sometimes you get that away game though, and it's tough in front of those little guys because they know the rules and the ropes, and you go up against them with your fancy suit and fancy shoes and fancy law firm, and you lose because you don't know the hometown rules.
Right.
That's why everybody loved my cousin Vinny.
That's right. Well, what a great show!
The underdog of the world.
That's one of the. Oh boy, that's a whole nother show.
She was a hottie
Marissa
too.
Tomei.
Oof, that accent she has.
That's up there in all-time great movies, though.
Was you a fan, Douglas?
Yeah, I mean, I was just explaining the entire film right there when I was talking, but yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly right. You sure did. You know, and I love her accent. I have found a lady and a husband and a wife that I follow on Facebook videos, and I'm assuming they have got a TikTok channel. It's a Chinese lady or Korean or I don't know, just Chinese, whatever it is. But she has a real thick tongue, and she talks, and she's got horrible broken English, and he always makes her say stuff, and it's funny as hell. But something about her really is pretty hot. I think it's that voice she has.
The Chinese lady?
Oh yeah, she's great. She's just the way she talks to her husband, and she calls him.
How old is she?
She calls him Tico, probably mid-30s.
Oh,
she's like, Tico, you don't know. We love you. You with me forever. You're never going to be with nobody else. You know, and it's just great because of the way she talks. Okay, one of my good friends today. This is what's been cool about the podcast is I have made friends with people that I have absolutely nothing in common with except we have the same passions, which is hunting and animals and stuff. But we would have never met because Douglas would have never spoke to me in public anywhere. He'd have thought, that guy's an asshole. I can tell already. My friend Douglas Spale from small town Nebraska. The boy loves Scott Frost too, right?
No.
Okay, here, Urban Meyer. Is he the next one?
I don't know who even wants that job right now. I think it's got to be an up-and-comer who knows that if I'm going to stay there for 2 years, I'll get a fat paycheck when I leave and move on, because this will be the fourth person now. That's my alma mater. That's where I went to undergrad, and I'm a Nebraska person through and through. But, well, the Lawrence Phillips thing, you guys talked about that before. That made me kind of not a fan of Scott Frost. But
Listen,
I don't know who wants that job.
He's got to worry about his well-being here. He's a quarterback. He had no line that night that Lawrence Phillips was scaling his balcony, so he didn't know how to handle it.
So do you think Urban Meyer is the next guy? I don't think so.
Jeff's going to make some money if he's not.
I don't think so either, and I don't know what Urban Meyer would do at Nebraska.
No, he would win,
but I could be wrong. I don't see how that's a leg up for him. He's got a nice contract out there. He's at NBC now or Fox in LA.
Yeah, he's on one of the morning shows.
Should be in prison probably. Yeah. No, I'm not a fan. I think he is what is wrong with college sports to a degree. Which college do we start at? Do we go to University of Florida where he kind of overlooked Aaron Hernandez? We overlook his coach beating the hell out of the guy's a piece of crap, but he's a great football coach and he's a winner. Now, if I was the president of the University of Nebraska and I thought, to make these people happy, we got to win at football again. We don't care about volleyball, even though we got the greatest program in the country, maybe. We don't care about men's bowling, whatever it is. We got to win at football. And Urban Meyer, I think if Urban Meyer went to Nebraska in 3 years, they would be a top 10 team again. He's that good a coach because he can recruit.
And develop talent. I mean, you can see the pipeline of kids he took out of Florida, was at Houston, and then obviously Ohio State. I mean, he puts guys in the NFL, and that's kind of an issue we have right now is Nebraska doesn't really put people in the NFL anymore. And I'm guessing an 18-year-old kid has never seen a good Nebraska team. And when you don't put people in the NFL and you kind of get embarrassed on national TV, it's tough to be like, I want to go play at that
How old
school.
are you, Douglas?
33.
Do you remember Nebraska being good?
Absolutely. The Bulls were good at that time too. So that first decade of my life, 89 and 99, that was all Nebraska. So it's been a tough two
So
decades.
since you've been out of diapers, do you remember Nebraska being good?
Yeah, because that 01 year with Eric Crouch was really good. And after that, it was nothing.
What was the knock on him? Because he never did anything past that. Was he just too small? Or did he have injuries?
I think so. And he's just a shorter quarterback that doesn't really have it. You know, a lot of those guys moved on to safety and such when they made it the NFL because they couldn't do that early 2000s, mid 2000s type offenses.
Kyler Murray, who I'm a big critic of because I think he's very, even though he made a hell of a play, he's a great fantasy quarterback. He's a horrible NFL quarterback because he's too small. Kyler Murray would have never, ever had the opportunity to play pro football 10 years ago, 15 years ago. Not a chance in hell.
You had Doug Flutie.
Whoa. Hold on. I'm glad you brought it up. If Doug Flutie wouldn't have been so successful in Canada, he would have never got a chance to play in the NFL. He didn't get a chance for the first 7-8 years because he was too small. Because you had to be 6'4" and be able to throw the ball a mile and be able to run a 5.6 40 because that's what they are. They're all the same.
Drew Brees is a shorter guy.
Drew Brees was that next generation. But look at him. I mean, San Diego traded him.
Yeah. And I think we've talked about this. So everybody makes fun of my Packers. You know, we've had Favre and Rodgers, and we've only got 2 Super Bowls. What about the Chargers? Chargers had they've gone from Phillip Rivers, they've had Drew Brees, and now they got Justin Herbert. They
had Dan Fouts.
And they got a big goose egg.
And then wasn't Ryan Leaf supposed to be like a generational
Ryan
talent
savior.
He just broke into houses in Canyon, Texas, and stole drugs or stole pain pills.
That was after
and got himself in a little bit of a mess
after his playing career. Did they take? They took him second, didn't they? Peyton went 1, or did they pass on Peyton for Ryan Leaf?
No, Peyton went 1, Ryan Leaf went 2.
Okay.
They got into the big debate over to take Eli Manning, and they drafted Eli Manning.
Yeah, so technically they got Eli Manning.
They traded Eli Manning to the Giants and drafted Phillip Rivers. I think Phillip Rivers is a better quarterback than Eli Manning was.
Well, you guys got those rings, so
yeah. But is that how you judge a quarterback, just by rings? Because if you do that, Joe Flacco is one of the best.
Yeah, I think that's where you start. Well, that's what I mean. We can get into that later. I mean, is Joe Flacco an elite quarterback?
He did. He looked that way last week, though.
There's a lot of quarterbacks that have rings on them that are not elite quarterbacks. Trent Dilfer does too, don't he?
Yes.
He won with Tampa Bay when they won because of defense.
No, Baltimore.
All right, we're going to talk football in another podcast. We didn't get Douglas on here to talk football. I want to talk dogs today, and I want to talk about Douglas's life. First of all, I had a guy call me today, and he asked me, he said, Jeff, I want to get me a pointing dog. He doesn't want a lab. And I said, well, I'm going to talk to a guy today. Douglas, what's the best dog to get out there for you if you want a versatile dog?
Well, versatile and pointing are a little different, but I just bought a new pointing dog. I got an English setter that I'm picking up next month in October, and it's out of a pretty established kennel out there. And those are all those chukar dogs. I think you talked to the last guest about chukar chasing, and those people are gnarly folks.
Shoemaker, he's going to Utah, right?
On a Nevada, 50-mile trip.
And they're like your guest, Donnie, where those chukar people just live for punishing their bodies, but they have solid English setters that they use, and that's one I just picked up. So I'll get her in.
So what does a chukar hunt look like? Because Wade didn't know enough about it to kind of explain it to us. Like what you said is just punishing. What is it?
Well, you're going uphill, rugged terrain, really fancy dog work, but you're just basically. And the chukar people are going to get mad because it's much more than this. But you're basically doing some incredible hiking in super rough, rocky terrain, trying to find these birds that live at the top. And you could climb a whole peak, you spend a couple of hours getting there, and those birds will fly 200 yards in front of you. And you look down and you can't see the ground, and you're up there sweating and bleeding, and then it's off to the next peak. I mean, it's brutal.
That doesn't sound fun. Why are people doing this?
They live for punishment.
Well, I mean, you got waterfowl hunters and look at the shit we put ourselves through.
That'd just get married and work with their wives all the time. They wouldn't even have to worry about any other kind of punishment.
I'm gonna have to look this up on YouTube and see exactly what we're dealing with here.
So in English,
and the English setters are better for this.
Yeah, I think there's them and the English pointers are the top 2 pointing dog breeds. And when you get in the versatile breeds, that's where kind of the German dogs really reign. And those are dogs that can do the tracking game, dispatching game, do the duck retrieving and everything. But those are like the 2 different worlds of the pointing breeds, I guess. Versatile.
What is a Drahthaar? Is that considered a versatile?
Yeah, because that'd be a German dog, and they do that. All those German
Well, we've
tests
got a
on
couple
it.
of them. Those are damn nice dogs.
Yeah, they just. I think the big thing with the pointers and the setters is they run a lot bigger. So like when I was out in Montana, those dogs range at anywhere from 300 to 700 yards in front of you. Where the other ones, the German dogs and the other ones, kind of stay a lot closer to you. And then you have your labs like I carry that's at 60 yards max. So kind of just depends on what kind of terrain you're running and how big you want your
I
dog
want
to
a
be.
dog like Lee Chose has. He had an English cocker. I think that's what it was.
Those are huge. Everyone that I know that has an impressive dog string all have
thing-
cockers.
That
Every
dog,
single person.
Bosco is his name, right?
Bosco.
Bosco weighed about 20 pounds. I wanted to take him home. I'm serious. I come home, I told Michelle, I said, she goes, we're not getting another dog. We've got Ollie. We're not getting another dog.
This one looks different than Bosco.
But that's what I want. A Bleach Host Bosco dog is one I want. Dog had a lot of drive.
And those dogs flush and they can track and they can pick up every bird that you drop. I mean, they're impressive dogs.
I wonder if every dog back in the day was a working dog of some sort, and that we have just bred these Kylie Kardashian, I'm going to put it in my Louis Vuitton and walk down Rodeo Drive dogs. Like, I wonder if early man, when they realized that they could use these animals to hunt with and bring food, if everyone, surely to God, like the early people were like, I'm not going to feed something that I'm not going to see a benefit from.
I mean, that makes sense. That's like the Indian dogs, or if you even look at just some of the queen and monarchy hunts, the type of dogs they use. But I think it's a resource thing. When you can't go to a grocery store and buy food, you got to get it yourself. You're not going to keep let's just say a lame dog on your string, because that doesn't do you any
you're
good.
just spending valuable resources feeding this little mutt, but
just like a lame horse.
Yeah, but I mean, because you see these tiny dogs, like I would never think that Bosco would come from a line of hunting and flushing and pointing and just doing all the stuff that a cocker can do. But when you look at it, like his lineage, for him to be where he is today, his ancestors had to have had some benefit, or they'd have just stomped him out.
Yeah, I'm guessing the size is a good thing for them. I mean, you can fit 3 of those dogs in a dog hole, and all 3 of them will flush, retrieve, and track for you, and they're impressive.
Well, what was that dog? What was the mean dog that you had, Jeff?
Oh, a Jack Russell. Meanest little sumbitch I ever had in my life.
Oh yeah, those are gnarly. There's a couple people out west that I follow that have those kind of terriers, and those things will attack raccoons and everything. They're great pest extermination.
Yeah, that's what they were bred for. I'm telling you right now, they're rat terriers.
Didn't
what it
you
is?
Say that they use them to do badgers?
Yeah,
they go to badger holes.
Send them down a hole. I'm telling you, that little sumbitch I had named Cyrus. He had 2 different colored eyes.
Cyrus the virus.
Boy, he was meaner than piss. That sucker, when you fed him and you put the dog food in the bowl, he put the fucker. If you want me to feed you, don't be trying to growl at me. But you could take a bone and he'd chew a bone. I could hold it, and if I moved the bone a little bit, he'd go to growling. He's mean as hell. I'd put him up against a grizzly bear.
But he was so small that he was just fun to dick with.
But
Yeah, but he was mean.
Because like, he was just tiny. So like if he pissed you off too bad, like you just smack him, and it was great.
They said those dogs like that though, you cannot have a Jack Russell if you have an inside house cat. You can raise them together, and you're going to come home one day, and there's going to be a dog and no cat left.
Really?
They said people have them for 3 or 4 years, and they'll come home and the cat will be mutilated in the front yard, or the living room.
Well, I've recently found out how detrimental cats are to the bird population.
Oh, they're terrible.
Like just your songbirds and
Really?
stuff that are in your yard every morning. A house cat, they go through
They kill billions a year.
I'll look it up.
In the
exact
bees,
number.
the billions. Okay, Douglas, I got to ask you this now. When I watched the video that you have out now, is it a public video now?
Yep. Yeah, it's under Pheasants Forever's banner.
Great video about your life. And I'm going to get into that because I was really impressed with it. And I was kind of hurt as friends. I didn't know all this about you, and I've learned a lot about you from that video. But you, what is the name of your dog? It's not Sunk a War. How do you say it?
So that was the one I had before. That's Shunka Awar. And then the one I have now is Kutope. But I kept a lot of that from you only because I knew that film was coming out. We did that last November, so I kind of wanted everyone else to see it at the same time and keep some of those things that are close to my heart close until that film came out, because that was that was a special one, and I just wanted to keep a lot of that.
And the dog's
close.
name was pronounced Shunkawar?
Shunka, yeah.
Shunkawar.
And that's the name of the dog in Yellowstone. If you watch Yellowstone, Casey gets that dog, and I don't think you guys.
No,
watch
it's
that,
too liberal for my. The show's not, but the people in it are a bunch of damn liberals, so I won't watch it. But so his dog is Shunka also, right?
And that means dog. In
Okay,
Lakota.
and that's the Indian name. And your new dog is named what?
Kutope, which is Comanche for my fire.
So impressed with Douglas. So you grew up in Nebraska. Now, tell me your story. You were adopted when you were how old?
18 months.
And you were adopted by a white family in little small town Nebraska, correct? How many black people lived in this little town that you grew up in?
We had two others. My brother and sister.
Your brother and sister?
And there's another couple of families that moved in and moved out. We're not too far from Omaha, but there wasn't a lot close. So that's just one of those things you grew up with. And
you grew up as a white farm boy then from Nebraska, basically, is what you're telling us.
I grew up on pavement, but I definitely am around a lot of farmers. Yeah.
Nebraska farmers are dickheads.
Well, just Blake.
Just Blake.
So you grew up. Now, your dad was a hunter.
Yes, my dad was. His parents were. My grandparents were. My uncles were. It's just kind of who all of my family was. His birthday is on the 26th of November. So every year, he's got 8 brothers. So every year around Thanksgiving, we always do a big birthday cake and a birthday hunt with them. So that's just kind of who we are. We just always upland and waterfowl hunted.
I had tears in my eyes when I watched your story. It made me feel good. It made me feel good that we have people in this world that love people unconditionally and take people and adopt kids and raise them the way your dad did, and how much your dad means to you meant so much to me, because you could tell when you talked to him how much you cared about him. And that we need more of that in the world, and it's a great tribute to him. So tell us about the video and about what it's about and all of that.
Yeah, because Jeff has literally said nothing about this, so I am.
I wanted you to be on the outside too.
I'm hearing all of this for the first time.
So, Pheasants Forever does a lot with conservation, and they're doing a bunch more to really get the diversity and just more people involved, because as a hunting community, we need more and more different populations just because it's the way the world is turning. There's a guy on there named Eric, and he is a photographer and filmmaker, and he's on a podcast one day, and he made an article about his son Casa, who he adopted from Ethiopia. And he talked about how he just needed a mentor for his son, and he couldn't really find one in the outdoor community. And so I reached out to him. I was like, hey, I'm kind of like we have a mixed race family, and your son's adopted. I'm adopted too. Like, I'd love to be a mentor. And so we kind of hit it off, and he's like, I'd love to make a film about this. So we did. And the idea is you get to know me and my father and our family story, and then we go out to Montana and meet his son, Casa, and him, and sharing this experience. And the big idea was around this image of 2 boys and their fathers hunting, but the characters are a bit different because you have 2 adopted little black boys in here and their white fathers. So it's a deviation from a lot of hunting stuff, but the message remains the same: family, faith, priorities, bird dogs, hunting. That's what brings us together. And it's just a way to put an olive branch out there to tell people, like, no matter who we are, how different we are, there's things that we have in common, and let's enjoy those things we have in common to make this world a better place.
Now, is this up on YouTube right now? Like, can the public see it, or is this something that's still under wraps?
No, you can see it. It's under Pheasants Forever's YouTube page, and then you can go to pheasantsforever.org/ripples, which is the landing page for the film too. But it's on their YouTube as well.
I'm in YouTube right now.
Look up Ripples.
Well, I'm gonna put it in. I'm not gonna watch it right now, Jeff, but I'm gonna put it in my. I'm gonna like mark it so that I'll have it.
It meant a lot to me, especially the love you have for your dad. That meant so much to me, and that.
Yeah, he went through a tough time there when he had those 2 bouts of cancer. And as a person who understands the amount of gifts and opportunities they gave me, it kind of was that point in my life where you kind of got to decide, do you want to do your own thing, or are you going to be there for your parents? And I made a business decision and moved home for about 10 months and helped him through all those treatments. And fortunately, he came out on the better end of all that, but it was tough at that time. It was not easy.
Did your parents have any biological children of their own?
Yes, I have three older brothers.
Okay.
So we're like round two, I guess, if you will.
How much older are they?
The youngest of the oldest is around 57.
They're pretty
so
old.
they're
That's
pretty.
old.
They're,
So
they're
like, you
pretty
know what?
old.
I think we
Yeah.
know a thing or two about parenting. Let's adopt some kids and let's put it to the test.
That'd be like Doug being my little brother.
It would be interesting. Have you ever talked to them about if some of the things that you experienced growing up, if they were like, oh, they'd never let us do that when we were growing up in their house?
A little bit, but they're kind of like, I don't know how to explain when you have a brother that much older than you. They're like really good uncles, maybe. Yeah. They'll just always look out for you and tell you with what's what. And when my mom and dad wouldn't make a meal I'd like, they go, hey, we'll go to Burger King and we'll get a burger. Don't worry. But it also would be like, hey, you're 15 now and you got a dog, so you're going to go out and retrieve all of our birds for us when we go hunting and stuff. So it was like not always great, but that was. And in the film in the beginning, we're on the Platte River hunting in Nebraska waterfowl, and that's kind of what I grew up doing, and I really loved to be able to do that with my brothers. And one of them now is deceased, so that was another kind of sentimental moment in that movie where you see me shooting the guns that were his.
Yeah, the things that get passed on in hunting, because we've got Ron was cremated, and I've got Ron and all of my blind bags. I put on my waders today, and felt something. I was like, what the fuck is that? And I opened it up, and I remembered at the beginning of last season I'd put one shotgun shell of Ron in there. So he was with me on the duck hunt today. I guess because I figured, oh, maybe I'd get in my waders and not have my blind bag, which I didn't. So he was there. He was there today. Ron's got that old 10 gauge, right? Is his.
It's on the wall in there.
Tell him that story, because that's something I don't think we've ever talked about.
My dad loved to waterfowl hunt a lot, and he passed that down to me and Tony. My dad used to not be a very good waterfowl hunter. I'm going to tell you, we went through a lot of trials and tribulations as kids, lots. My dad had a horrible, horrible temper when things would not go good. He'd cuss and throw shit down and throw like a temper tantrum that a little kid would throw. So as a kid growing up, I would see my dad when a gun would jam or shit wouldn't work, he'd get so mad. So anyways, he bought him a Mossberg Super Goose. I can't remember that. I think it was called a Super Goose. It's a 10 gauge with like a 58-inch barrel on it. It was a long tom. Might have been even what it was called, but it's huge. So
because back in those days, you could only kill a goose with a 10 gauge.
Well,
nobody knew better.
We didn't know how to. We wasn't decoying
nobody
birds.
Knew better.
Dad thought because he wasn't very good at getting the birds within 80 yards that this 10 gauge would make him be able to knock them down. So he bought this gun, Marlin Super Goose, what it was called. Anyways, he'd shoot his old bolt action that weighed 400 pounds. And he could never kill nothing with it. He'd shoot and shoot. Well, one day he started patterning it and wasn't patterned good, so he cut the barrel off to make it better for him. We found out later on he cut it at an angle, so the shot was really fucked up, and he didn't find this out for like 5 years of shooting with this thing. But anyways, I've got that on the wall in there. But I think that's what touched me. The deal is that I miss my dad more every day than I did before, and it's not a sad miss. It's just I miss wisdom and stuff that I didn't realize he had. You don't realize how smart your dad is or what you can learn from him until they're gone. And it's a shame it's that way. But there's so many things that I want to ask my dad. But your deal touched on me because me and Tony grew up hunting with my dad all the time. My mom and dad were divorced, and so Dad took me and Tony hunting instead of hunting with his buddies a lot. And when we got in the hunting business, we lost that. We didn't very seldom do we get a chance, just me, Tony, and Dad to go do anything, or me and the boys and Dad to go do anything. And you get to do that with your dad. And I'm so jealous of people like that. And I think it's a wonderful deal. And you talked about you lost a brother, and that was really touching to me. And you're a very blessed young man to get adopted by a great family that you did. And I don't know the story of why you got adopted and all of that. And if you want to share that would be great. And that might be something you don't want to talk about. But
pretty simple. My parents had some friends that owned an adoption agency, and they basically were kind of looking through a book, and I was the one that stood out. They flew down to South Texas and picked me up.
So you're a Texan?
My mother is, I was born in San Marcos, so it's right outside of Austin.
Oh, yeah, big party town.
Or San Antonio, I think, sorry.
Same place. It's halfway between.
And my mother has a severe phobia of planes, so that was the last time she's ever flown, too, was to pick me up, what's that, 30 some years ago. And that was kind of it. They just wanted to. And then they got my younger brother and sister who are also adopted. We're not related, but they're also adopted too. And they welcomed us. And that's kind of why my dad got that cancer stuff. It was like, you've you live in this fancy apartment, you live in Chicago, you have this great career, but you wouldn't have any of that but for him. So it was my choice to move home and put my life on hold for a while.
That just, man, that's so touching. I mean, you just the part where you were just in an adoption deal and your parents had raised their kids. That would be like me and Michelle. We have no kids left, and us decide to adopt some kids again. That is a great sacrifice that someone makes to do something like that.
That is amazing. Like how did they even think to look at a registry, for lack of a better word? Like what drove them to think, maybe adoption is right for us?
I think they just were kind of looking to fill some sort of void in their life. And like I said, their friends own or ran a bunch of adoption agencies around the country. And two of our good family friends that are adopted, same like me, one's at John Hopkins. He's in neurosurgery up there. I mean, we are fortunate to be adopted into good families. And I know a bunch of other adopted people since that have been well, but I think they just were looking to do something else with their lives, that they already had their older children. So they would have been in their 40s or something because they had the first three pretty young.
I think one of the reasons there's so much success, though, if you're willing to adopt a child, you're going to give the child the best chance they can to be successful in life. You don't think so? I think
there's a lot of fucked up foster parents.
Foster parents, not adopted parents. You are correct on that, because a lot of foster parents are doing it to get a paycheck. When you adopt a kid, you're wanting to better someone's life and to fulfill your life more.
So how does that process all work? You go through this.
Well, we never did the foster stuff. It was all adoption.
Once your parents got you, you were legally theirs.
There's a lot of paperwork and stuff in the front end, and it's not like it's the day of.
Right.
Like when they take you home, you might be in that process getting all the stuff done. But essentially, it's like that's the pup I pick, and now I'll go through the process of adopting that pup.
So you're a pick of the litter then.
That's what I like to call myself. Yeah.
He's an attorney, so I would say so. I would say so.
So you grow up in this, and you said there was two of them. So there's two other black people, and they were all in your family in this little town.
There's a couple others in the community that moved in and out too.
You had an amazing story, Douglas. I mean, an amazing story. Your dad and mom are what a great group of people. That is just, I just can't get over how impressed I am by all this. Now, you lost a brother in this. Is this an adopted brother you lost?
We've lost two of the biologicals, the brothers up above. So the round one, one was lost before I was brought in, and then the next one we lost when I was in high school, and he was the one that was that diehard waterfowler he was like the duck commander before they were duck commanders. He had the beard and the long hair and just sat on the Platte River and just destroyed ducks out there. He was lethal. John was his name.
Big influence in your life.
Big influence. I still carry his Benelli with me every time I hunt, even if I don't bring it out.
What kind of Benelli was it?
Super Black Eagle 2.
Ooh, fancy. Fancy. They say my buddy, he's a big Benelli guy, but his dad buys every Super Black Eagle, the original, that he can find every time. If he can find it at a pawn shop or wherever.
I'd like to get one of those. I have the 3, and I have 2, obviously, but I've never been able to come across to 1. It would be nice to have all 3 of them.
They say they're a workhorse. I've never, up until recently, I was a pump guy, so.
I owned one for 7 days.
The original one?
Yep.
Really?
Yep. I bought it. I didn't like it, and I sold it. It had more than 2 bullets, and I'm an over-under guy.
You're not an over-under guy.
If I shoot over-under. What did I use this weekend?
You need the third shot.
Why?
You said you did a lot of missing.
I did some missing, but I still shot my limit. Here's the thing. I made a deal with the state and the federal government a long time ago. I won't shoot 3 shells because it's too detrimental to the bird population. Yeah. So when I hunt, I just use 2 bullets. That's all I need. You're an over-under guy, aren't you? You're a big-time upland bird hunter.
I mix and match. Like when I was in Montana 2 weeks ago, I did triple on sharptail with 3 shells, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. But I do run that over/under 828 sometimes too.
And
what does it make you feel? Like traditional, or how does that work? You're like, oh, you know what?
Just depends how much walking.
I just
I'm
want to
doing
handicap
is
myself
the
today.
828's lighter.
I just want one less shot today. 33% less firepower.
Because you're not mad. Douglas is like me. He's not mad at the birds. He appreciates them, so he just enjoys it, and so he doesn't have to kill everyone. How big's a sharp tail? I don't know nothing about them. How big are they compared to like a pheasant?
They're smaller than a pheasant. They'd probably be in between a pheasant and you have the Huns out there, don't
No.
you? Do you guys do Huns?
No.
Okay.
What's up?
Are they the side of a chukar?
They're bigger than a
Okay.
chukar.
So they're bigger than between a chukar and a pheasant.
Yep. Yeah.
How many?
Right about in the middle.
So
yeah.
some Boss 7s that do some work on them then.
Yeah. I was running the Boss 3.5s on those ones though, and I was still having pretty good luck.
Boy, I shot teal with the Boss 7s this weekend. Woo-hoo-hoo. I'm telling you, Smoke City.
And we've been doing dove hunts with the Boss 7s. Eesh. It's bad.
They don't make you better shots though.
I did that grouse with them last year. That Minnesota grouse with those Boss 7s on grouse and woodcock. Yeah. Oh man, that was brutal too.
I mean, there's no deny. I mean, it smacks them, and there's no cripples, which is good for I got an old dog now, so I don't need him dicking around out front with a teal that's diving on him. So we need it to be quick and easy for him.
So the woodcock. Now, do you hunt them with the flushing dogs or pointers?
We used pointing dogs last year. I'm not going to chase them this year because I'm doing some more Western stuff. But you can use a flusher. I know people that use them, but I think it's a little easier to use a pointing dog because that brush and cover is so much thicker, and it's easier to, instead of having to trail a flusher.
Now, does a woodcock eat any good?
Yeah, they're really good. When I go up there, we usually put it you can just pan fry that with celery salt, and it's really good. You just pluck it, pan fry it, celery salt, and you can just pop it right in your mouth.
I can honestly say I've never had wood. What about snipe? About the same?
Is it kind of like pheasant or what?
No, it's a little lighter than pheasant.
Oh, really?
I've never eaten snipe, but I have some friends that are just snipe killers. They love to shoot snipe for some reason.
So we don't have much of that here because we like that little thing called water. Yeah. So we don't have a lot of woodcock and snipe, and grouse. The grouse up northern Minnesota. You hunt up around Ely area that way, in the Iron Range.
No, I was in Douglas County, Wisconsin, which is on the northwest side of Wisconsin. So that's like south of Duluth on the other side of the lake there. I think that's Superior.
Around Superior, Wisconsin?
No, Lake Superior.
Okay. What's that town right across from Duluth? It's Superior, isn't it?
It might be. I was just up there a couple of weeks ago. I kind of forgot already.
I think it's Superior.
It'd be across from Duluth?
Yeah, they got the best breakfast joint in the world. Some old cafe. They have a cheeseburger omelet there, out of this world. Absolutely amazing.
Yeah, it would be Superior.
That Duluth area is pretty
beautiful area.
Yeah, it's Superior.
Yeah, you're right. It's Superior.
All the way up to Grand Marais. Just beautiful up in there.
I've never been to Duluth. Well, I've only been to Minneapolis. So
Minnesota gets prettier the farther north you get outside of, when you get north of Minneapolis, it starts getting prettier about 60, 70 miles north of there. Duluth is a beautiful place in the mountains. It's a gorgeous place.
There's skiing resorts up there or something else. You showed me a skiing resort that when we were driving in.
That's at Lutzen.
Yeah.
No. That was south. That was around Albert Lee. I told Andy, I said, this is what people in Minnesota call snow skiing right here.
Snow skiing right here. It's a hill.
You've seen that place right south of Minneapolis on 35?
Yeah, I don't go to Minnesota.
No.
I told Andy, I said, this is a ski area right here. It's not even, he's like, where? It's right there. That's the Aspen of Minnesota.
We're going to go to Jackson Hole one day. That's where I want to go ski. Jackson Hole.
Oh, nice. You should definitely go out there. We got a friend that owns a ranch out there too. They knock some big elk up just south of Jackson.
Douglas is a high roller, boy. He is slumming with us today. I'm telling you right now.
Do you don't do any big game hunting, do you though?
No, I got these dogs, so I don't.
Well, they could be like tracking dogs or something like that. I don't know. You could find a use for them.
Yeah, I suppose. I think it's kind of like fishing. I just stay away from it because I know once I do it and land something, I'll be super addicted to it. So I just have to stay away.
You train your dogs every day because I talk to you a lot, and I'll see your stuff, and you train your dog every single day. Now you're fixing to get married, right?
April. Yeah, it's coming up fast.
Which part of this are you going to cut out? The hunting or the dog training?
Well, it's That's why it's an April date. So my last hunt of the year will be April 1st in South Dakota for snow geese, and then I'm done until we get married at the end of April. And August through April is like my time, and then we take a couple breaks in between for holidays and ski season, and then she can have April through August to do whatever she wants.
You're telling me right now that September of 2023, Douglas is going to be doing the same thing you did in 2022 in September.
Except her sister's getting married one of those weekends, but yeah, same stuff. I'll go to Montana for that prairie grouse opener again. And I'll come down here and shoot teal. But September is not too active of a month because you really only have early goose, teal, and prairie grouse for the bird people, and there's not a lot of that right now.
So are you planning on staying married a long time?
That's the hope between me and God. I think that's the compromise we have to make.
Because something's going to give there. I tell Logan Pyatt this all the time. They've got a new baby, and he's going to learn this.
No, you've always said if you will get it, if you will just
set the bar now,
set how things are going to be, then
they can learn to adjust. It is what it is. They can adjust accordingly. But I also know that things change when you get married sometimes, and you don't do the same, but you should. And I'm proud of you. If you can do 90% of what you've done this year, once you're married, you're going to be like an icon figure for people. They're going to be like, man, I want to be Douglas Spale.
I need to talk to Douglas. You can start making YouTube videos on marriage advice for the average hunter that doesn't want to give up his weekends.
The married hunter.
Yeah. There you go. See there? It's all coming together. It's destiny.
Does your wife's or your future wife, your fiance's family, are they hunters?
A couple of our uncles are pretty big hunters, and that's where I do a lot of my stuff in Kansas. So that was a nice. I didn't get to meet him until I got engaged, and then he's got a nice river set up just an hour west of here. And then like, okay, you're engaged. You can finally meet Uncle Pat. I'm like, ooh, Pat, you got some nice property out here. It's nice that we're going to be in the same family.
Does her dad hunt though?
He does not. No, he's a girl dad. He's got 3 girls.
You're so screwed. Because a girl dad has been. She's used to doing what she wants her whole life.
You're okay. I can tell. You're a good judge of character, Douglas. You're an attorney and everything. You're a good judge of character. So like, you wouldn't have hitched your wagon to somebody that's gonna like just put the kibosh to everything as soon as you put a ring on it.
Get a prenup for hunting.
You'll be all right.
I don't think my lifestyle will change too much, and it may. Obviously, when I have kids and stuff, it'll change a bit.
That's the big curveball.
But
kids means free dog help, so I hope we can have a few of them.
Well, that's the Ron Stanfield method right there. That's why I'll never, ever, ever, ever train a dog again the rest of my life. I was messing with Ollie the other day. I had a collar on him, and I was working on him setting and coming and stuff, and I was thinking, oh, my God, I'm Ron Stanfield right now. I'm sound just like my dad, doing just like my dad would do. Because I've seen it my whole life. I could train a lab. I know because I was around there, but I swore the last time he told me, well, dang, I can find a lot of kids that want to go shoot ducks all year long that don't mind throwing dummies every day. And I was thinking, well, I ain't throwing one of these some bitches ever again. But
Andy, when you getting one?
Another dog?
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's a good question.
Lou is 9. And he acts 4. I mean, he was hunting today, and he has not lost a step. The problem with Lou is I think he realizes he's finally old, and he does not give a shit at the house. Like, he's chewing on stuff again.
No shit?
Yeah, he chewed up a fucking bag of the scoop dog food. For no fucking reason. He ate that day. I came home, and then there's dog food strung out.
Oh, your poor wife. That's the deal having to do with your wife. That's the bad problem.
What are you doing?
He ate a whole bag of scoop dog food?
No, but he tore it open.
Oh.
And just shredded most of the top of the bag. The food, there's still a lot of food left, but he chewed it up to be an asshole. Then the other day, my kids are in the bathtub, and Lou walks in there. And if Lou goes into a bathroom, he's going to lick toilet seats. And I said, Lou, no. And like he kind of walked a little bit, and I was like, that's odd. He never even acknowledged me. And I was like, this motherfucker's probably going deaf. So I said, Lou, no. No shit. He looks back at me, perks his ears up, and then proceeds to do what he was going to do. And I thought, you motherfucker. So he's just reached the age where it's just like, what are you gonna do? You gonna hit me? You gonna beat me? You gonna beat me some more? You gonna put me in the backyard? Do it. I don't give a shit.
Andy said my dad's genetics have crossed over to this dog.
It has, because Ron went through this stage where he's just like, F you to the world and, do whatever you're going to do. I'm an old man now, so like,
I've got
whatever.
cancer and leukemia, and I really don't care.
I don't care what you're going to do to me.
I got on my dad about eating a dessert one day, and Michelle told me, she goes, Jeff, your dad is 75 years old. He has lung cancer and leukemia. She goes, I really don't think him eating 2 extra pieces of pie at Christmas is really going to hurt him that bad.
So to answer your question, I would like to get through this hunting season and then see where we're at, because if he finishes the season the way that we've started, it's going to be tough. I don't know.
You ought to just get one and then just change the way you raise that second dog. Like he's a kennel dog. He doesn't get to sleep on the bed or anything, and just kind of change the mindset of how you treat that dog, because you're going to have 2.
Yeah.
But Andy's got 2 little boys, and they're going to take that little puppy in, and they're going to love him, and they're going to fight over who he sleeps with. Lou
already sleeps with Reese.
Lou is not a problem. I'm gonna be on Lou's side here. Lou is a hard-headed lab, which is common in some labs. He's got a ton of drive. He is the perfect
you
hunt
saw him
dog.
on Saturday.
Yeah, he hunted. You would have not. Even the guys with me, I said, "Can you believe that dog's 10 years old?" They're like, "Shit, no." He looks like he's 2-year-old dog out there. He ran hard. He worked hard. He's got tons. He whines. He's excited, but he's like Hugh Hefner in his last years at the Playboy Mansion. He's on his last leg, even though he's living like he's 25 still. But when Andy gets a new dog, that dog's going to be taken off just where Lou is. If you get another Lou, you'll be lucky as hell to have another dog that good a dog that's that good a citizen. He's just a pervert. That's just his problem. He eats panties.
He's never eaten panties, but he has licked a bunch.
And that's the kind of thing he does. He sniffs the women when they come over. He licks the sofa after they get up and stuff. He's just an old pervert. I mean, but
Here's the only thing I tell you is, if you wait too long and something happens and you lose Lou dog, it is very hard to go out there and pick up your own birds.
I can see that.
Both sentimental and just actually.
Right. Yeah.
Like when I lost that last one and I went on a snow goose hunt and you dropped like 13 birds on the first flock, I was like, God, I don't want to get up and pick up these birds, because you're sad you have to. Right. You don't have a dog, but you're also like, geez, I got to move around now.
It's funny too, because we see. I'm not heavy-handed with Lou. Like, he's born to do what he does. So, in my mind, there's no reason for me to have to get up on a hunt. Like, if there's a long cripple or something that I need to line them up for, I'll do it. But like, for the most part, if they're in or around the decoys, I just let him go find them. I mean, I'll kind of half-ass line them up, and he does a very good job of remembering where birds are. But it wears me out, the guy that has to stand right by his dog and get a perfect line every time, and then send his dog, and then the dog gets lost, and then he's constantly like fucking with the dog, and it's just like, geez, just let the fucking dog be a dog. He's got a nose on him. He'll find it. He'll figure it out. And he'll never figure it out if you're always just going to just holler at him.
And there's whistles. Whistle stop. Whistle over.
I had a guy one time, and the dog he would say back, and the dog would be going back. And then as the dog is running, the guy would be like, back, 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 back. And every time the dog would like look back at him. I'm like, the dog's going back. Leave your dog alone. You told him to go back once. He's going back, and now you're just hollering back at him, and he keeps looking at you. He's never going to find the bird that way. Wears me out. I don't know what YouTube shit people are looking at, but sometimes it wears me out.
Well, that's a problem, right? Because that person's probably trying to build momentum with that dog when it's going. And you may do that with a collar, too, when you're doing blinds and you're training Nick the whole way to that mark. But yelling back, back, back is not doing anybody any good, especially that dog, because he's hearing an auditory response. He doesn't know what to do.
Huge distraction.
Unless you've trained a dog to respond to back, 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 which I think is absurd, because you would never use that in a test or anything. So,
and like, I'm not shitting you. This dog would go 4 steps back, like he originally told him to do. Dog's doing right, and he'd back, 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 and as further the dog gets out, he's got to yell louder. And every time the dog would take, he might not look back every time the guy would say back, but he's He's checking his owner.
What Dad used to say,
Just
3/4 of all dog problems are the owner.
Yes. And I would even bump that up a little bit. And, Lou's biggest problem is me, I'm sure. Whatever, all of his shortcomings are because I failed him somewhere. I'll admit that.
So, Douglas, you...
Sounds like Lou's a pretty good dog, though.
Other than the whining.
I mean, you get him tons of reps, so it's not like he's faltering.
That dog
really.
ain't seen a bumper in 12 years, and he's 10 years old. Andy has not, honestly, though. Andy, when's the last time you threw bumpers for him in the offseason? 6 years ago?
No,
Yes, pretty close on that. He's a couch dog.
We'll throw him a day or two before we get started.
Lou watches Scooby-Doo and sits inside the air conditioning. He don't even like to go outside if it's hot.
But he's also old. So he's to the point now where it should be automatic. He's seen enough reps, like you said. Like if he doesn't have it by now, I'd be worried.
Yeah, 10-year-old dog don't need to be trained. Conditioned a little bit, get out, exercise, a good thing. You take your dog for a walk every day, and you raised your dog in Chicago, Illinois.
Which my hat's off to you.
Yeah, because
the last one.
Can't imagine even living in Chicago. I'm going to ask you about Chicago real quick. Where you lived at in Chicago, you lived in Upper Crust, Chicago, because that's where you roll with the Wrigleys and stuff. So you're a big dog. You didn't have to worry about all the drive-by shootings and crap. That part of Chicago is relatively really safe, isn't it?
Well, I lived in the Gold Coast right next to the Cabrini Green.
Oh, that's a bad place.
It formerly was a very, very notorious place, but there's only one street there. But yeah, there was shootings in my area, but a lot of those ones that happened there when I lived there in that area are pretty targeted. They shot at or shot near who they wanted to shoot. There wasn't really the random acts that have kind of happened in the past couple of years, and that violence has really spread a lot. And it's not even a political thing now. It's just a life or death. That violence is really spread across that entire city now.
I saw a video on Twitter about 2 weeks ago, and it looked like a war zone. I mean, there were gunshots going. It was a parking lot, and it just exploded with gunfire.
Young people today don't.
I mean, it's some of that is that way. It's bad, but the problem, like when I was there, it wasn't great. Obviously, a lot of issues happened, but it was pretty set in certain neighborhoods. So you wouldn't, like we talked about before, I'd have friends that come in and they go get bottle service at a club, and we go to fancy steak dinners and do all the fancy stuff because they're farmers and they would pay for all of it. But, and I'd tell them to read the headlines in the morning. You're like 12 people shot, 3 died. And then I'd say, do you guys have any idea how dangerous this city is? Like, no. Because it was so sectioned off, but now it's everywhere.
What shocks me is the lack of respect that these young people have for life. I mean, I saw a guy yesterday. It was a video of somewhere, and I think it was in New Orleans, and somebody was in a convenience store, and they robbed a guy and just shot him in the head. I mean, just the kid complied with everything they wanted to do, and then they just popped him in the head. And then another one, some guy was in a Subway. And him and his girlfriend were there, and this guy comes up and pulls a gun on him. Well, he didn't know the guy with the girlfriend had a gun, and they get in a big shootout right there, and some other guy gets shot. And I'm thinking, man, it's just you're rolling the dice every time you leave your house in these big cities now, and it's just a bad deal.
And a lot of it is the drug war and stuff. And before in the 80s and 90s, there was those big gangs, like the Disciples and everything, which kind of ruled the roost, just like foreign politics too. When you start taking out the big ones, the little ones can flourish everywhere, and that's kind of what's happened. And there's not a lot of that progression in age and stuff. Those kids are doing that are 13, 15, 17 years old. I mean, you look at those papers and those shootings, and you'll see the guy that's just shot 3 people, and he's 16 years old. You're just thinking, what a waste of a life.
Yes.
You go to jail at 16.
Yeah, part of the system. And the Bloods and Crips, that's what happened. They would recruit these kids that didn't have a dad at home. And this kid's 7, 8 years old. And all of a sudden he's got, he's running errands for them and doing shit. The next thing you know, if you want to be a full-time member of the deal, you got to rob somebody or carjack somebody. And they don't know any better. And it's a horrible thing. But a long time ago, you could go to big cities and there were safe areas in 90% of it. You just didn't go to the bad places. Now it's all over. And a long time ago, the people that were shooting at each other were just shooting over a drug deal gone bad. Now they just seem to just be popping caps at intersections and stuff a lot of times.
And that's a social media thing. You can look at some of those people that die, and it's all so. The police follow a social media tracker, and that's how they find where the shooting happened, why it happened, and da 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 da. I wonder if that is a big factor in a lot of the expansion of violence is the social media aspect of a lot of that
The
stuff.
notoriety that you might get.
Yeah, and also the bullying too. Before you'd probably have to like write an article in the paper to bully someone. Now you can post a couple Twitters and that person's really upset.
Yeah.
Have you seen
There's a
that
new
app?
There's a new book coming out, and I think it's called Behind Their Screen or something like that. And it talks about the book. The author interviews a bunch of teenagers, and they talk about the pressures of social media and having a cell phone, and just the like you said, the bullying aspect that wasn't there 15 years ago.
Have you seen that? There's an app, and a guy told us about it in Minneapolis when we were in St. Louis, called the City app. And you can pull it up, and it shows you everything within, and especially where you live in a big city, it shows you everything that's going on within a mile of you, or 2 miles, or 3 miles. You can set the settings on whatever you want. Any call, any ambulance call, anything, that just shows up on that app. And if I lived in a big city, I think it would be really interesting to see. In Knox City, it would be awful damn boring. Mm-hmm. But it's called City, CITY, just an app, and it shows everything in where you're at. If you're on vacation, anything happened to you close that you need to avoid or anything is there. Or if you're a nosy son bitch like me, you can look and see what's going on.
And that book is called Behind Their Screen: What Teens Are Facing and What Adults Are Missing. But it a couple Harvard professors, just like I said, they surveyed more than 3,500 teens. And evidently, I have not read the book, but I've seen some of the reviews, and it's pretty eye-opening what kids in general are facing with this. There's also another good book called The Boy Crisis by Warren Farrell, and it talks about boys growing up in fatherless homes and just how they prime candidates for gangs, and because boys always, in one way or another, they'll seek out a father figure. And when you are in an area that has a lot of single mothers, young boys gravitate to gangs just because that's the father figure that they never had.
Very unfortunate.
Yeah. It's a good book, though.
What made you decide to become an attorney?
My uncle was a federal judge, and I liked him a lot as a kid, and I thought that'd be a good career to go into. So I decided I want to be a lawyer, and I hoped originally one day to kind of try to go on a track to be a judge, but I don't know if that's still in the cards, as much outdoor stuff as I enjoy doing now.
I would become a wealthy attorney is what I would do. That's exactly what I would do.
What?
Yeah, I got a good work-life balance now, though. I enjoy that.
Do you do any private stuff on the own, or do you do just government stuff?
Just government stuff. The private stuff was out when I was in Chicago, and I'd just churn billable hours out there, and you make a lot of money doing it, but it's not really my path anymore.
Rainmaker, Jeff. That's what we call guys like him.
A rainmaker?
A rainmaker.
Yeah.
Is the bar as a bitch as what you hear about, just to the average person?
Oh,
it's
yeah.
as bad?
Yeah, because essentially you're learning everything you've gone over in law school in 3 years in about a month and a half. And you have to take a test that has this pressure of learning all that and retaining all that knowledge, but also knowing that if you don't do well, you're going to set your career back 6 months because it's offered twice a year. So that's another added pressure. And then just people knowing you're going to take it, and you just really want to make everyone happy. So there's a lot of pressure. And I don't know anyone that said, I love taking the bar.
What? So they only offer it.
Not even the chukar hunters.
Not even chukar hunters that are glutton for punishment. So it's. I did not know that it's only offered twice a year. Mm-hmm. So when do you finish law school and then take the bar exam? So
it's offered in February and July. So you could either take it in February or July. So if you finish, it's like calendar school year, so you finish in April or May or something, you take it that July.
What did you do?
I took it in July. Yep.
And what's crazy is I know some real cheese dick attorneys. I don't know how the hell they ever pass the bar. And you do too, I know.
Yeah. I mean, there's some strategy at it, and you kind of learn how to game the system. Like it's like 100 multiple choice, and you have to take once you take like 3,000 multiple choice questions, you should be able to figure out conceptually how to answer the question right. So as long as you are able to do that work in that month and a half, then you should have reasonable success. And the pass rate to pass the bar is like a 70%. So you don't have to get 100. You just have to hit that pass rate. So someone could be at 71% and be your lawyer, or they could be at 98% and be your lawyer.
Have you ever seen that movie, Catch Me If You Can, with Leonardo? Is that his name? Leonardo DiCaprio?
Yes.
What's that guy's name?
I think I've seen parts
What's
of
the
it.
guy's name that plays in that? Gosnell? Anyways, the guy he plays was the guy that was a big scam artist, and he figured out how to
Credit cards.
credit card checks. He was doing checks from Pan Am. He played like he was a pilot and stuff. He passed the Louisiana bar and never ever went to law school.
I had classmates that finished law school and never took the bar, and they just went on to be consultants or something else.
Well, he never went to law school, but passed the bar exam. He faked his way into getting to take the test.
Isn't that a show on
Yes, it's
USA?
It's a
Suits or something?
Oh, I don't know about that, but it's an actual movie about him, and it's called Catch Me If You Can. It's a great movie. I'm telling you right now, people, if you want to watch a movie, it's a very good movie. But Tom Hanks in it, I can't stand him, but he plays the FBI agent tracking him down, and it's a really good show, though. Are you looking this up? You fact checking me?
Trying to find out what his name was. Abigail. Abagnale?
Abagnale.
What the hell?
What's his first name?
Frank Abagnale.
It's a great show.
And then why don't you like Tom Hanks less than Leonardo? Leonardo's a big liberal guy too.
I don't mind the liberal part, and I don't mind
What's
Leonardo
the part that you don't
DiCaprio.
like then?
I think Tom Hanks is right up there with Jeffrey Epstein on all that crap. I'm not a Tom Hanks fan.
Lord, here you go again.
I'm not
So
Tom
hey,
Hanks.
tell me about your water situation down there. What's your water
dry.
looking like? On the east side over here, it's not that bad.
We
but
need rain.
Central and west, it's bad.
We need rain bad. Here it is. I'm going to talk about this later on. It is September 20th. September is our third wettest month of the year. We haven't seen a rain in September in 3 years. None. And I think if you go from probably Wichita, Kansas, and go straight line up to Nebraska, maybe to cut off to Pierre, South Dakota, and put that big old freaking hole everywhere, I think there's no rain anywhere in there. There's been a high pressure system, I think, set out there for 68 months now, and it just rain goes around it. But we have had no rain in September. We had 8 inches of rain in August. If you come to Lodge September 1st, that guy's come in, they say, I've never seen this green out here before.
Right.
It looked like Bushwood Country Club, all nice and green and mowed and edged and weed-eated. But we have not had a rain in September. We always get rain in September.
And it's been 100 and windy, so like whatever rain we did catch,
we're starting to lose
in August. It's going down fast.
We need some rain. I've set aside some. We're gonna fill some water here. One water place we're gonna have we won't hunt on all year. It's gonna be just set aside for a roost for the birds. But we need some rain. But it's not just us; it's everywhere in West Texas, Western Kansas. Hell, I looked at Blake's stuff at Grant, Nebraska. I look at it all the time. Their high is going to be 54 degrees on Thursday and 48 for a low, which would be wonderful. And they got a chance of rain, I think, for the next couple of days a little bit, but they're not getting no rain. I mean, hell, the Platte River's bone dry.
Yeah, we drove back from Montana. We drove out and I saw some of those gullies and stuff. That was just remarkable for me to see it dry like that. I've never seen that area that dry before.
This would have been a bad year to be an Indian on the plains or to be a settler trying to go across to California from St. Louis.
Or a modern day farmer.
Yes.
I go west all the time and I see the corn that's knee high by August 31st.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't even know what they do with that corn when it's that short still.
Just get under.
Cutting it for hay now is what they're doing. There is a huge food source that's voided out in the middle of our country for waterfowl, and it's going to be somebody in Indiana and Illinois is going to end up having a ton of birds, or some people in New Mexico, Colorado, somewhere like that. That funnel of birds is going to come around, and we've got water and we've got food here, so we're going to be okay. But there's places north of us that don't have any food at all. You know, even their irrigated didn't make much, and it's a sad deal. Lots of prayers for the farmers. That's a tough gig right there. You know, and I done pissed some farmers off. I got a guy that sent me a nasty email when I told him that they should tax the farmers like they do everyone else. When I meant just a flat sales tax for everybody in the world. Do away with income tax, just do a flat sales tax. Well, by God, he was all for that except for his farm, for him. You know, he don't mind the guy that owns a hardware store paying tax on everything, but by God, as a farmer, you shouldn't have to pay no taxes.
Yeah, we'll have to watch those Dakotas. When I was up in North Dakota for that early goose season, it was green and full of birds, and it was full of teal. But now I'm down here in Kansas, and I've been going out the last couple days, and I haven't been seeing nearly as many teal as I would have expected right now. Not a lot of that's calendar stuff, but
Right.
do you guys have a lot of teal down there
Not
yet?
we had Saturday and Sunday, but you know what we need? A north wind.
Yeah, we'll get that tomorrow. Hopefully, it's going to be 100 here today.
Yes,
so
I was just
it's
looking.
supposed to break tomorrow.
I don't know where you are from Great Bend, but Great Bend is.
He's in Kansas City.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they're
so about- I
99
think
in
I'm
Great
3
Bend
hours from
today,
there.
and then 87 tomorrow, and then 63 on Thursday. I'm jealous.
How much rain? What are the
Yeah.
rain chances there?
Some on Thursday.
That's it. It's just
That's
no
in Great
rain.
Bend.
So, growing up in Nebraska, now in Texas, we have Texas history that we study in school. Does every state have that? Does like Nebraska have a state history that you take while you're in school?
I think so, but more that's like elementary school, so you don't really retain a lot of that.
Yeah.
So you named your dogs after Indians, Native Americans. I don't know what but I think native is the proper word though. So
Either way is fine. I mean, Indian law is a body of law. Indian country is what Indian lands are. So I think you can say whatever you want.
well, good because you know me, Douglas, and I'm not too PC, and I say Indian. So what?
I'll protect you.
I
yeah.
appreciate that. I may have to retain you one day. You may have to break out of your practice to just come help me. So what is I love Indian folklore and Indian history. I love it in Nebraska. So tell me about Sunkel. What made you come up with the Lakota name?
Yeah, so I grew up hunting a lot of the Rosebud Reservation, which is kind
I've
of
been
on,
there.
It's on the. Oh, okay. And those are all Lakota. And so when I got Chunka, and I was after my dad had his cancer and told me to get him another dog, I thought, well, let's use the Lakota language to find a word that we like. And Chunka kind of rolled off the tongue well, and we liked it named dog. And we grew up hunting that Rosebud, and there's a lot of famous Lakota warriors. Our favorite one is Crazy Horse. So I said Chunka O War, dog of war, a dog that could have ran with Crazy Horse, and that was the name.
Now, did they use their dogs for hunting? You said earlier, correct?
Well, now they do. Back then, they're more horse people.
So they ate the dogs, right?
Well, there was like that dog age before the horse came, but
Right.
yeah, I
That's-
think they're mostly like alert dogs at that point.
So, but they didn't keep a dog around. If a dog wasn't a tool, they weren't going to keep him around.
Yeah, it's just like a bad horse. So.
Yes, exactly. I always forget about that. Before the Spanish brung the horses over here, the Indians used dogs as their means of carrying stuff around and pulling stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, I guess if you look at the Eskimos, they still
Perfect
to some
example.
extent.
Never thought about that before, but yeah, they use that for transportation.
Right. Just get a bunch of them. What was Crazy Horse famous for?
Well, I think the biggest
Custer.
one was like the General Custer.
Yeah, that's a neat place.
He-
Have you been there?
Yep.
Did he?
And then we also last year we went to the Battle of Little Bighorn monument on Veterans Day, which kind of puts you in a weird position. You're like,
I bet that
okay,
is. Yeah.
Veterans Day. It was free, so we went.
Did you when I was there? Was you not? I was underwhelmed by the situation where it was at to think that all that happened in that little area, and I don't know what I was expecting.
Yeah, because you're like, there's kind of rolling hills, but man, if someone had the high ground, that should have been over with.
Yes.
And you just think about the warfare tactics at that time, and it's puzzling, really.
And then you see the interstate going by, and you thought, I bet they didn't think about that when they see there's going to be 1,000 people an hour coming driving by. We were in
Yeah.
we were in San
So
Antonio.
who had the high? I don't know anything about this battle. Which one had the high ground? Custer,
yeah,
Yeah.
and
they lost.
Then he still lost.
yeah, sent some guys out to get water or something, and it was not very strategically. It was not very smart. The Indian outsmarted him big time.
What weapons did he have? I mean, I'm sure Custer had everything.
That was a cavalry.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
No, I mean,
he had cannons and he had rifles.
no, the Indian fella.
They had Indians.
Crazy Horse.
They had guns
They did have guns.
and bows and,
And
arrows.
numbers.
Yeah, and a lot of people.
Yeah.
They got beat at their own game.
Did they outnumber them?
The Indians did, yes.
Right. I don't know anything about this.
Wouldn't
battle,
that be
so I'm
cool to
asking.
like fly over one of those massive Indian warrior camps
Yes.
in like the 1800s?
That would be it.
Just to see it.
Go back in time. I'd love to see that, and that'd be a cool place. But I was very underwhelmed by the whole situation. I don't know what I was expecting.
where they fought?
Yeah, but I thought it'd be more than that. We were in San Antonio one time, and we went to the Alamo to do something, and me and Michelle went over, and they've got a famous hotel there called the Minger. It's 150 years old or something, and we're sitting there and having a drink, and Michelle said, she goes, I wonder if there were people in here during the Battle of the Alamo. I go, what? She goes, I wonder if this hotel was full during the Alamo. I go, yeah, this is where they all came and had drinks, between battles. She goes, You think so? I said, fuck no. I said, there was nothing there, Michelle. It was an Alamo. It was just a mission out in the middle of nowhere. San Antonio was not existed here. I said, you think they're downtown in the bank building shooting at them, at Santa Ana? I was like, God almighty. I was like, where did you get your history lessons at, woman? She's got 2 college degrees, and she asked me if they was having drinks at the Minger during the Alamo.
You can't know everything, like, Michelle. Don't feel bad.
Almighty. Yeah. There was something else I was going. Oh, the warfare tactics of like old days. That is just crazy. I think I said on one other podcast. Like I can't believe anybody's still here. Like I don't know how between infection and just the sheer brutality of it all, how anybody made it out alive. It's
I think a lot of it's mental, though. Like when you think a lot of those Indian warriors, they're all built off their magic that they had from different signs. And these people, I don't want to say they are insane, but like you're driven by this idea that this magic is telling you to do this thing, and you go out and do it, and then you go home. I think that'd be the weird part, is going out and doing that and then just riding 6 days back home. Like,
I'm right in the middle of Game of Thrones, and I mean that's
that's really good.
And I mean
we talk about it on every show now, and I guess I'm gonna have to watch it.
Oh, I love it. I'm becoming Game of Thrones has become my Kenny Chesney to Jeff. Like Jeff went through this phase where every episode we talked about Kenny Chesney. That's Game of Thrones to me now. But
so where are you at? What's happening right now?
The Red Wedding just happened.
Oh, brutal wedding,
yeah.
Well, y'all ruined it for me now. I know that the Red Wedding, a bunch of people are going to die, so I don't need to watch that.
Yeah, but
every wedding in Game of Thrones is not good for anybody. So I mean, that's just like a common thing.
For anybody. No wedding is good.
I need a series to watch.
Game of Thrones is it.
You watched The Wire, Jeff. What'd you think?
As good as The Sopranos.
Yeah. Arguably one of the best series I think ever
I would
made.
say, especially the first 4 seasons.
Arguably, but
the first 4 seasons were better than the last 2.
But back to my show, back to the best show ever, Game of Thrones. The way that women are treated back in those early days. I mean, they are nothing more than property, and there is nobody protecting them.
Back in those days.
Well, that story's made up. But
well, I understand that, but if you look back in the 1500s and stuff, like we're just barbarians. If a guy wanted a woman, there was nothing really to stop him. There was not much of a system in place to deter any bad behavior.
Did you see what Deadwood?
No, I didn't watch Deadwood.
It's the same thing in the 1800s. That's what I was getting at. Things didn't change much from the 1500s to 1800s, other than they invented a condom.
Right, but I mean, it's just we're brutal people through and through. I think just now we're kind of civilized.
Yeah. Nature's brutal, though, when you think about it.
Did you see the elk getting eaten in, I think it was Yellowstone, by 6 or 7 wolves? I mean... Yeah,
that's nature, though. And you see the little baby calf bison getting chased by wolves, and it's tough, and you want to help it. But that's what nature is. What do you call it? Dog eat dog.
Yeah, there was a video of a bear. It had a little fawn, and that fawn is just crying out. And it's just like, oh, my goodness, I can't watch this.
But I won't watch stuff like that. I did watch the bobcat chase a squirrel, though.
Who won?
The squirrel won this time. Bobcat showed somebody, I don't know, someone just happened to be in their backyard, and all of a sudden, this fucking squirrel goes, pew, and this bobcat does up a tree, and they're on one side. Squirrel runs up the top of a tree, big oak tree, like a pecan tree, and the bobcat's after him and goes over the limbs, and the squirrel jumps out, and the bobcat jumps out. That bobcat bounced 2 feet off the ground when it hit the ground so hard, and the squirrel went back up the tree. Bobcat gave up. But usually the bobcat ends up winning that deal.
Yeah, it's nature, and you hate to see things like this, but those things have to eat too. I mean, if a bear goes for very long, he's got to have protein, so it's just the food chain is all that it is.
Do you get mad? Do you get upset when a bobcat kills a mouse?
No.
See, it's the same thing. We just look at it different.
We have
when we look at it as a deer or a moose or an elk getting,
But everyone loves watching the cheetahs chase those antelope.
I always go for the antelope, though.
Yeah.
You do?
Oh yeah, all the time. I'm always for the underdog. I still want to see the Roadrunner get ate by the coyote one day.
Just because he loses?
Just one time. I want to see
because he loses.
I want him
so
to whip
much?
his ass one time. What I want to know is where the coyote was getting all his money to buy all his shit from Acme. I mean, he had missiles, bombs, all kinds of stuff, and still couldn't catch the damn Roadrunner.
You can't show those things anymore. They're too violent for kids.
Are you serious?
Can't watch them.
Really?
I think that's what they've said. Yeah, the old cartoons are too violent for today's children. That's why we had
That's
Columbine, I guess, or something.
what a terrible world we're living in then for all that stuff.
I feel like they can get other stuff that's worse for free now than cartoons on cable
Wouldn't you think
network.
so? Yeah, like just scroll through YouTube for half of a second, and you'll see 17 things that are way worse than Wile E. Coyote.
Have you ever done that? Just scrolled through YouTube Shorts. Those are. I did that one day for like 3 times a day, and I haven't done it in like 3 months. There's some really rough stuff on YouTube Cuts or whatever it's called.
That's what, like when I was talking to Sam Soholt, like when the days that I have to upload a whole bunch of stuff like to social media, my head hurts. I'm in a bad mood, and it's just because I've spent too much time on social media. I've been in that black hole for too long. So I don't know. I don't know how people do it on a regular basis. They have to like. My problem is that I get sucked in. So, it's the catchy video at the very beginning. So I'll go to upload something, and then like this catchy video will get my eye, and then like we're 10 minutes into scrolling. I'm like, okay, I gotta get back to posting. But
Is our counter off?
I don't like it. It stopped.
So this whole thing is not being recorded?
Yes, Jeff.
Oh, the counter. Okay, good deal. I looked at it. It was like 27 minutes. I thought we've been on longer than 27 minutes.
You just sit there.
Okay.
You just sit there.
All right.
Yes, when it stopped the first time, I restarted.
Okay, that's got me scared. I thought we're gonna do all this again and make all this stuff up.
Nope. We're not gonna have to at all.
Well, Douglas, I appreciate our friendship so much. You're a very interesting guy. I hope you come see us this year. I understand now after you talking about your friends at Jackson Hole and the bottle service and the steaks in Chicago, why you don't come to the Big Honker Lodge. We get that by now. I will put Michelle's desserts up against any place. We had cinnamon rolls with apple pie filling and ice cream for dessert last night. Marvelous.
I've heard the bread pudding down there is good, and I have a bunch of friends and family up here in Kansas that want some of that bread pudding. That's been a big kick with us lately. So if I come down, I'll have to have her make us a special batch that I can take on the road.
She would
with
do
me.
that. Matter of fact, she just got rid of some from the other day. She made 3 big batches the other day, and she had to get rid of some space out of it. But they're very good. She makes it fresh. About every other day, she makes bread pudding. Tonight, it's banana pudding that she makes. Now, in my household, it's really weird because my kids are screwed up, and they have banana-less banana pudding. I like bananas in it. None of the boys want banana. They have vanilla pudding and wafers, but if they think they're having banana pudding. I've never understood that shit.
I don't like the banana.
So they eat the Nella wafers
I don't like
too.
the bananas. They get mushy and soft, and it's not good. And even the vanilla wafers, banana pudding has a shelf life of like 3 days. Anything past that,
It's
playing
not
with your
banana
life.
pudding because you don't like bananas in it. She makes
You're playing with your life.
She makes a special deal every night. She's made some tonight too because my grandsons are getting indoctrinated into this stupid shit. Banana pudding's supposed to have bananas in it. Why else would it not be banana
It's
pudding?
got the banana flavor of the pudding.
No, that's vanilla pudding. There's no banana pudding.
It tastes a little bit like. banana
Anyways,
pudding.
Douglas, that's it. And let me tell you what else my family does. It's just screwed up. They have hot dogless chili dogs. She'll say, "Do you want chili dogs?" Yeah. Well, do you want a weenie? Or yeah, it's a chili dog. They eat bread and chili, and they think they're having chili dogs. It's the dumbest shit I ever seen. When we first got married, I'm like, first time she made chili dogs, and we were dating, and she goes, "Do you want a hot dog in that?" Oh, I thought we were having chili dogs for dinner. Yeah, but the boys, they just like the chili and the bread. Well, that's called chili. It's not called a hot dog, a chili dog.
You like what you like.
Is that the dumbest shit you ever heard of?
What do you want from me, Douglas?
But if we went and ordered a hot dog somewhere, they wouldn't want to just eat bread and mustard. They'd want an actual hot dog on it. So,
What? Yeah, that's weird. You can talk to Blake though. Nebraska people like their chili and cinnamon rolls.
What?
But that chili you're talking about doesn't make sense without a hot
No.
dog in it. What do you call it? I mean, isn't it? It's like a sloppy Joe. Then
and I
or
like
something.
sloppy joes, but they don't like that either. But that's
No, I don't like
essentially
sloppy- I don't like
it's
sloppy
essentially the
joes.
same
It's a
shit
different
they're
chili.
having.
Sloppy joes are a different chili.
So, anyways, Blake and
That's
them
sloppy
put.
Joe chili.
I've heard of this chili and cinnamon rolls, and I've heard that. What's the nastiest shit in the world is Skyline chili, and Andy makes that from Cincinnati.
Yep, I was gonna go
Oh.
there next. Yeah, that stuff is gross, but they
That
love
stuff's
it.
horrible.
I made for it wasn't that long ago. It's cream cheese, Skyline, and shredded cheese on top. Dip it, and it's not bad.
It was horrible. It had cinnamon flavor to it. I just
Now
And like chocolate, and it's really, really bad.
I wouldn't want to put it on my fries or anything, but it wasn't bad in that little.
and they put it on spaghetti there.
appetizer.
Which
Yeah.
now regular chili on spaghetti, I could see that chili mac. That wouldn't bother me so bad, but the cinnamon in chili just throws me for a loop.
Yeah, that's why I need a cinnamon roll with it.
So is
that's
it
the
good that
stuff.
way?
Yeah, but you eat the chili and then you eat the cinnamon roll, so you get that savory and then you get that sweet. It's like eating peanut butter and chocolate, or like a Frito with peanut butter.
Oh,
and
you can
chocolate.
eat cinnamon roll after anything. It's going to taste good because the cinnamon roll's good. Matter of fact, Michelle made homemade cinnamon rolls today too.
A Frito with cinnamon and chocolate?
No, Frito, like they make those like pan dishes with Fritos and chocolate and peanut butter, so you get that salty, sweet
I bet that would be
taste.
good.
It's pretty good.
I've
never seen that ever either, but that sounds pretty good.
It's like sea salt
Yeah.
chocolate. You eat sea salt chocolate, and then you have that sweet and that salty taste, and it's
We
pretty
had a
good.
guy here last year. Michelle does chili at lunch about once a week, and she always puts out Fritos so people can make a Frito chili pie. And a guy was making that, and there was a guy from the Northeast hunting with us, and he goes, well, what are you doing? He goes, making a Frito chili pie. What's that? I thought, you never heard of a Frito chili pie? And the guy had never heard of Frito's chili pie ever. I couldn't believe it.
I think they call those walking tacos in Nebraska.
Yeah, that's getting to be the big thing. I saw that when we were in Minnesota. They had walking tacos. It was
Walking tacos?
Yeah, it was like a bag of Doritos that they put something in. They called it a walking taco. But a Frito chili pie is a staple at Texas high school football games.
Yeah.
Since from the dawn of time. And hot Dr. Pepper. Have you ever had that? They put hot Dr. Pepper in a coffee maker and they just make it hot and warm it up. Yeah, hot Dr. Pepper. Yeah, you've never had it? It's actually pretty good.
I've never in my life seen that.
Yeah, it used to be common. Today's y'all screwed up everything, but hot Dr. Pepper is actually pretty good.
They run it through a coffee maker?
No, not a coffee. Yeah, just a coffee machine, just hot Dr. Pepper, just by itself, and just you'd be surprised.
That sounds terrible.
It's actually pretty good.
That sounds awful.
Andy's gonna try it now. And he's gonna like, that's pretty damn good. It actually is good.
That sounds horrible. We've talked about a lot of shit on here, and I think I'd rather have Donnie Vincent's little chips that
there's
they made
no way.
than hot Dr. Pepper.
No,
that sounds bad. Bad.
Well, blubber
And what that would do to your, whew.
It's just hot Dr. Pepper. It's just Dr. Pepper. It's warm.
So would you drink it out of a can that's been sitting outside?
No, you drink it. No, you drink it when it's cold at football games, like in a styrofoam cup. Hot Dr. Pepper. It's very common.
I've never seen that before.
Well,
but now I don't spend a whole lot of time at football games. So
there you go. It
that's
used to
why I
be a
haven't seen it.
staple in the 70s and 80s.
Oh, well.
Nowadays we're
I
fancy
definitely
and we
miss that.
We got 27.
Yeah,
Back
we've got
then-
ice. Yeah,
back-
we've got ice.
Back
Yeah,
then
we
you
have cold
could-
Dr. Pepper.
Back then you could get coffee, not all the different kinds of coffees. All right, Douglas, we're going to get off here because we're going to do a football podcast with you after this. But
kick his ass is what I'm going to do.
hey, I appreciate you being on here. Thank you for telling your story. So they can go to Pheasants Forever and look up
Ripples.
Ripples, and
yeah,
it'll be the video.
I see it right now. So it looks good. I'm ready to watch it.
Thanks. Yeah, I appreciate you guys talking about that. It's pretty good film, and I was excited to do it. So thanks again for having
You
me
bet.
on.
Thank
Yes,
you, and
sir.
God bless you, my friend.
All right.
Just hang on right here. We don't have to call you back. We can just.
All right. Hot Dr. Pepper.
Sounds terrible.
Damn good.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, go check out all of our sponsors. Check out Double T British Kennels, Ducks Unlimited, Dirty Duck Coffee, Stanfield Hunting Outfitters, Bangtail Whiskey, Alpha Outdoor Specialties, Looking Glass Duck Club Podcast, Lucky Duck, Shin Gear Waders, Gundog Outdoors, Pacific Falls, Dive Bomb Industries, and Ball Shop.